Hi everybody, Fred the Pirate here, and I am here to do a series review for Young Justice. So I'm sure as many of you have followed my channel are aware, a couple weeks ago, the animated series Young Justice was canceled, and because of that, I decided that I'd do a review of the series in its entirety since I've been doing weekly episode reviews. So, from the time it got canceled up until this point, I actually went and rewatched all of the episodes. So, for those of you who aren't aware, like I said, Young Justice is an animated television series that aired on Cartoon Network from it says that it aired from uh, November 26, 2010 until March 16th, 2013. So that's how long it aired. So for a little more than 2 years. Although Young Justice did take a lot of hiatuses, so Young Justice consists of 2 seasons. The whole series is 46 episodes long. Season 1 is 26 episodes long, and season 2 is 20 episodes long. So essentially, Young Justice follows a team of teenage superheroes as they fight bad guys and strive for more independence and autonomy, and while they're just really trying to make their way in the world as independent heroes. And a lot of the, essentially all of the teenage heroes we follow in the series are the sidekicks of the major heroes from the DC universe. So the team consists of Robin, uh, Kid Flash, Aqualad, and then Miss Martian and Artemis. So, and Artemis is the sidekick. So all of them are the sidekicks of the major members of the Justice League. And as the series progresses, we get introduced to other teenage superheroes, like we get introduced to Wonder Girl and a teenage version of Zatanna. We get we get introduced to Static Shock later on in season 2, and then Blue Beetle. So we get introduced to them later in the series. So obviously, like I said, we kind of follow them as they deal with the usual superhero business, fighting bad guys, saving innocent bystanders, and just generally saving the world. So we follow them through that. um, we also kind of follow them through teenage drama stuff, because there's a lot of, at least romantic drama, but it's not really soap opera like, and it doesn't really take away from the series. At least I feel like, I think they intersperse it pretty well, and I have to say, like, they definitely get better at balancing it out as the series goes on. So pretty much, with those general thoughts, I really liked the series. I thought it was really well animated. I liked the characters, and honestly, like, I'm not super familiar with the comics because I don't read the comics. So most of the stuff that I know about the DC universe is through the various animated properties they have and the live action films they've made. Um, so to me, like, it was definitely fun. One of the most fun things I had about this series was meeting Miss Martian, and meeting characters like Impulse, because this was kind of the first time I met those characters. Like I've met pretty much most of the other characters in other animated formats. So it was pretty cool meeting characters that I wasn't so familiar with. Um, so that was definitely fun. Now, to deal with the 2 episodes, um, since I have rewatched them, I have to say, it was really fun rewatching the series, and I pretty much marathon watched it. And I have to say, it definitely was really fun, watching it that way. And it was definitely fun kind of picking up on, the larger overarching plot that, was in all the episodes. So it was, and sometimes, when you watch a show, week to week, you forget stuff. And like I said, like Young Justice, I think probably one of its biggest problems is that it took a lot of hiatuses. And I think that definitely was its downfall. I don't think that was necessarily the fault of the show creators as much as that was the fault of Cartoon Networks, and that they would just have them go on hiatuses every couple of months. And when you do that, obviously, like I said, sometimes when you watch a show week to week, sometimes, you forget every detail that happened the week before, and so sometimes, like, you forget stuff. So, and obviously, when you have huge hiatuses in there, that certainly doesn't help. Um, but I have to say it was really fun marathon watching this, and there aren't a lot of shows you can do with that, because I think sometimes, usually when you marathon watch something, that you become really aware of inconsistencies and kind of bad stuff. But, marathon watching this was really fun. So I have to say, if you missed the boat and, you'd like to check it out, I'd definitely recommend uh, watching it. I think there's quite a few places online that you can rewatch it if you want to, and I'm pretty sure you can probably watch it on iTunes and stuff, because I think you can watch like everything on iTunes. Now, don't hold me to that, but I know there's quite a few places you can watch it online. Um, so it was definitely really fun doing that. Now, I'm just going to give my thoughts on season 1 and season 2 as individual things. And I have to say, the first time I watched the series, I wasn't such a huge fan of season 1. And honestly, I felt like the first time I watched it, it was a little slow. And I felt like it really didn't start picking up until probably after around episode 8, episode 9. And I think that's a lot of people's opinions on stuff. I have to say, rewatching it, those episodes weren't too bad. So I think, like, honestly, if you're somebody who, didn't watch the series because you couldn't make it through the first couple episodes, I would definitely recommend, just, powering on through it. And, if you really don't like those episodes, just go to episode 9 and episode 10 in season 1, because that's generally when stuff starts picking up. And I think for me, like, I really felt like season 1 definitely picked up towards the end of it. So, and honestly, I liked season 2 a lot. I definitely liked what they did with that. Honestly, I have to say, as far as um, season 1 goes, essentially, probably one of the biggest issues I had with season 1 is that it tends to be, like, the first time I watched it, it seemed really episodic, like that they were just a lot of individual standalone episodes. Although I have to say, in hindsight, watching it the second time, it's obvious that there were a kind of an overarching plot. Like, it's not as obvious as it is with season 2, but there are a lot of subtle hints episode to episode, and so that was definitely fun to rewatch. But the first time, it seemed really episodic, and I think probably one of the biggest problems I had is that sometimes they would have these episodes that essentially were just character development episodes. It's like they'd still be actiony, but they really didn't really do all that much for the overarching plot, and it was kind of like they just existed there as character development for the characters that we weren't quite so familiar with, and so generally, um, these were episodes for Artemis and Miss Martian and Superboy, because they got a lot of character development, specific episodes, and generally, I'll admit I wasn't too big of a fan of those the first time I watched them, and I'm not too big of a fan of them the second time I watched them. But I have to say, by season 2, they definitely get rid of the character development episodes and what I mean by that is that they get rid of the episodes that only exist to be for character development. Because I think the thing is, a mark of a good show is that, you're supposed to develop your character and have, characterization happen, while the plot's going on. Like, you're not supposed to have to take special breaks to do that stuff. And it's like, and if you're having to take special breaks to do that, then you're not pacing your show right and you're not doing it correctly. And honestly, by the second season, they get that stuff ironed out. Like, it's like the characters develop in the episode while the plot's going like you're supposed to. So they definitely get that fixed, and which is good because I think you always want to see a show, improve on the good stuff that it does, and and fix the bad stuff, like make the good stuff better, and fix the not so good stuff. I have to say, for season 1, my 2 favorite episodes, I have to say, is the episode where they go into the psychic simulation of the doomsday scenario, and then obviously Miss Martian kind of hijacks the situation. Like, she doesn't intend to, but her powers get the best of her. And I believe that episode is probably, let's see what that one is. Alright, so let's see. And I believe that one is entitled Failsafe, and I think that's episode 16 in season 1. So I liked that one. I believe that's the one. And my other episode that I liked a lot in season 1 was the episode let's see, there it is. The episode entitled Misplaced, which is episode 19, and that's where Kyrian, the witch boy, uses his magic to create 2 Earths, one with adults and one with children. And so I like that episode a lot. And I definitely like the 2 season finale episodes. Like, those were pretty good. But I have to say, Failsafe and I believe Misplaced were probably my 2 favorite episodes of season 1 because, I liked a lot of the character development stuff that happened in there. I think they did that correctly. Like, you got really solid character development with the characters without having to make it like just take special time for it. Like, it happened naturally, like it's supposed to. But I just like the idea of the plot. Like, they were really serious and they were done on a really grand scale. And I kind of like stories like that. So I definitely like those 2 episodes. As far as season 2 goes, which that was 20 episodes long, season 2 is entitled Invasion, and essentially, season 2 follows 5 years after the events of season 1. So we pick up after that, and we're picking up, and so season 2 follows essentially that Earth is being invaded by an alien force called the Reach, and this happens as the result of the action of the villains in season 1 because they brought about attention to the Earth. through their actions. So that's what happens in season 2. And one of the differences between season 1 and season 2 is that season 2 actually has a very noticeable overarching plot. Like the thing is when you watch season 2, like every episode builds on the one before it, and it builds on the overarching plot of the invasion. So it's not like season 1 that was fairly episodic. Like it's like there's an overarching plot. So I definitely really like that, and I like kind of like the grand scale of that. Like I like that kind of stuff, especially for superhero stuff, and especially with the DC universe because there's just so many heroes. So I think that those really grand plot lines really work well for that. Um, I think probably the one thing that I think it could have worked on is that it introduced a few characters and it didn't quite give them enough characterization. Like they were kind of just there, and I kind of wish that they would have better utilized those characters. Like now I understand that, Young Justice has a really large cast, and I know that there's going to be some heroes in who just like you see them and they're there. And like I can kind of understand that with Justice League heroes because this is supposed to be about, the younger heroes, but like they introduced a few characters that I felt didn't quite get the type of attention they needed to, and I felt the third Robin, Tim Drake, who was introduced in this season, I felt like he could have gotten definitely a lot more character development, and I feel like Cassie, who's Wonder Girl, and Lagan could have gotten, who's Lagoon Boy. I think they definitely could have used more character development, and I think they were kind of introduced, but not a lot was done with them. Now, in fairness, like I said again, there are a lot of characters, and honestly, there is a possibility that maybe the creators of the show plan to do more with them in the next season, but obviously that didn't happen. So I kind of wish that even with that said, that they would have spent more time developing the characters that they introduced because there was a lot of characters, but especially those three that I mentioned that kind of just got introduced, but not a lot really happened with them. And the thing is, it was always kind of implied that they were kind of supposed to be at least somewhat important. Like I know they weren't supposed to be the biggest cast members, but it would have been nice to have more development with them. Although I know with this season we focused a lot on Blue Beetle's character Jaime, and we focused on the character Impulse Bart Allen, which that made sense because Bart comes back from the future to stop the Reach invasion from causing issues, and Jaime, who's the Blue Beetle, the scarab he uses to get his superpowers is from the Reach. So, and it's actually supposed to make him like a weapon of the Reach, but it's malfunctioned. So, and there's a lot of stuff involved in that. So I could definitely understand why they focused a lot on him as well as the five main characters that we were first introduced to in season 1, which is Dick Grayson as who was Robin, but he's now Nightwing, and Miss Martian, Artemis, Kid Flash, Superboy, and Aqualad. So we focus on them, obviously, along with obviously Jaime as Blue Beetle and Bart Allen as Impulse. So we focus mostly on those guys, but there's a couple other characters like I mentioned that they introduce, but they don't focus on a lot. And that's kind of just my main problem with season 2. Like, I liked the story, and I definitely liked the overarching plot. I wish that they would have focused a little more on the development of the characters that they introduced, and I figure if they couldn't have done that, then I really would have wished that they would have waited to introduce them for when they can better utilize them. So, because that would have been better. Like, and the thing is they didn't really introduce a whole bunch of new characters. Like, they introduced like maybe 5 or 6 new characters, but like they just never really got around with doing a lot with them. So I think that's definitely probably one of my major problems with season 2. But overall, as far as the overall series goes, like I liked it. I thought it was a good series. It's probably one of the better series that I've seen in the last couple of years. And it's definitely a shame that it got canceled. Assuming what was hinted at the end of the finale of the second season, which is the series finale, I think that the show creators, like I at least got the impression that really all they planned to do with the show was to have 3 seasons, and that would have been the entirety of the series. And which to me, like, that kind of makes it more unfortunate that it got canceled, because at the end of the second season, we see them go to Apocalypse, and they've been hinting at stuff about Apocalypse and Darkseid, since season 1, and actually fairly early in season 1. So, and they've always been kind of dropping hints about it, having technology from there, having certain entities that are from there. It kind of show up sometimes, like not play super, super huge roles, but definitely be involved. And so I think it's kind of obvious that in the third season they were gonna finally deal with the stuff with the apocalypse that they've been hinting at the entire series. So it would have been not, and I think that with that in mind, I think with the third season, I think they would have wrapped up the series how they intended to, which makes it being canceled really even more unfortunate. And the thing is like it wasn't canceled because it got bad views. It got canceled because of toy stuff, which is really, really unfortunate. So on that note, I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to with the series review. So with that said, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on Young Justice. And so make sure you guys comment, rate, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys again next time.